Hi, welcome to the channel. We finished the last video with my asking my doctors and nurse practitioners if they thought that I'd be able to walk again. And they had answered that I should get rid or get used to the way things were now because that was probably what they called my new normal. I had always disliked that expression, my new normal, because I always equated that with surrendering to the way things were. So I didn't like it, but I didn't know what to do. I remember waking up every morning crying because I was mourning the person that had had been before. A person who had been very independent, who had certainly been able to walk all by himself and take care of things all by himself. So I cried every morning, and it took a while for me to be ready to start the day. And the day didn't have too much to offer me as far as I was concerned. So I remembered the I remembered having talked to that chaplain at the hospital where they did my surgery, and he had said something like, "Well, I guess what you want is a miracle." And I think we had been talking about my not wanting to end up on the street and wanting to end up someplace where I didn't have any money to pay for. But I did get my miracle in a way because I was not on the street. One of my guardian angels had offered me that house of hers to live in at least for a little while. Well, we found something else for me, and I was wondering if if it would make sense for me to turn my eyes back to God again, and if I had been unfair to God, and if I should give Him and me another chance to live together. I hadn't gone to church in a very long time. The guardian angel, both my guardian angels were uh, devout, and they invited me to go to church with them. And especially one of them was a Catholic. I had been raised a Catholic, and I brought my walker to church and parked it by the side of the bench. And I was able to go to church, and it felt really good to go to church and sort of unload my sadness onto God for a while. It reminded me of something that I thought I had read in the gospel that said that Jesus could take the load off our shoulders for a while, at least for a while, and replace it with his yoke, which was a soft yoke. And that made me feel good. And that is really the way I felt. Of course, the next morning I was crying again, and I was crying and praying to the Lord that He would let me walk again. And I asked Him at some point in time to let me walk again. Told Him that if He allowed me to walk again, I would do something with the rest of my life. Something that something that He wanted me to do, to serve Him and not to serve me, and that I would use the rest of my life and my ability to walk and all my other abilities to serve Him. I was feeling at this point in time that I had wasted my life that I had wasted my talents, and that comes from another section of the gospel where Jesus is speaking in parables and telling his disciples, telling them this parable where this man or these three people had been given certain talents in money, and they had been told to do something with that money, and that he would come back after a certain period of time because he was going out on some trip, and then he would uh, ask them to give him an account of what they'd done with the talents. I put myself in the shoes of the person who had been given one talent and had done nothing with it, because I felt like I had done nothing with whatever God had given me, and I felt really bad about it. I felt like I deserved everything that was happening to me, and I asked for God's forgiveness. I didn't know what else to do but cry and ask for Jesus' forgiveness for not having done anything with what he had given me. So, after I had lost my ability to walk, but had recovered, but the pain had been gone away with the medications and the radiotherapy. I had gone to physical therapy, and they had helped me with some exercises that I had hoped would I had hoped would help me walk again. Eventually, that didn't happen, and I was very disappointed. But one of the physical therapists had, in passing, said that maybe if I went for radiotherapy again, I'd be able to walk again, because that had happened to someone that she knew. And I had already been through radiotherapy, so I put it in the back of my mind, but I didn't pay that much attention to it. Not for a while. I paid attention to it a little later, and we can talk about that then. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you soon.